Namaste. This is a video spiritual message that I have for you. And this message today is basically something that I believe we all need at this point of time, because the world as we know is going through many changes. And these many changes that we experience in life may or may not always appeal to our expectations, to our plans, and it's something that has shaken up a lot of people. And so today I just want to put up a short message about welcoming change in life. So please, this is not an interactive video session, so I just would like to leave the message with all of you so that you can just listen to it, reflect on it, and let your intuition lead you to how you can perceive this message at its best for you. As far as change is concerned, we all experience change on an everyday basis. Without change, nothing ever moves forward. Change is the only thing that is constant in this universe, and it occurs to us whether we are here in this dimension or in any other dimension. Change is inevitable. But how we deal with change is itself one of the toughest lessons. Because change, the word change itself, has many forms, multiple forms. It can even be as small as a change in location or a change that you may need to make in a habit of yours, all the way to accepting the change of even someone whose loved one's passing. That too is a change. So how do we accept change? And why is it important that we understand that embracing the tides of time, change per se, is important for evolution? It's not always possible to accept change as it comes. There are all kinds of changes. For those who are even spiritually awakened, you go through the changes that perhaps a Mercury retrograde or a full moon or anything brings with it, the energy changes that come with it. But more than that, there are the regular changes, the everyday changes that we go through. How do we deal with it? How efficient are we with moving with the tides so that we evolve? Now, when it comes to moving with the tides, when you talk about little changes, the first and most important thing that we have to do to move with the flow of change itself is to allow oneself to accept the change. When you accept a change itself, that is a part of your evolution. That's when you decide to even move out of your comfort zone. It requires that you move out of your comfort zone for you to accept it. Right? Now, if you're going to just sit there and say, well, I'm not going to do this, I don't believe this is right for me. So some of you may ask me, so what happens when I refuse to change? What happens? Do I miss out on something? Is it a lesson that I miss out? Is it going to become a karmic cycle? What is it? Well, when you refuse or when you ignore something, it just comes back in cycles because your higher self decided to go through this process. All right? And this process is important for your evolution. And therefore, if you miss it once, your spirit guides will make sure that they keep coming back and sending you signs and reminders and more changes so that you would, see the pattern reappearing in your life again and again until you do something about it. This could even be as changes in your mission. Some of you may be aimlessly roaming around, not understanding what you really need to do here in this world. Most of us have this big issue about what really is my purpose here. What am I actually here for? Am I here to evolve? Am I here to just exist? Am I here to just release some karma? What am I here for? Look at the signs. Look at the signs, the changes. When things change, when you're pushed to a corner, when you're suddenly, the carpet under your feet is shaken up, when you're asked to move forward, that there is change. That there has some purpose. It does not occur without a purpose. You might think, why do I have to go through so many things? Suddenly, sometimes I hear people saying that nothing moves forward for me. Why doesn't anything move forward for me? Why is it that every time I do something, it gets distracted or it doesn't move forward? I feel stuck. I feel like I'm in a state of limbo. Or why don't things go according to my plan? Well, our plans are of the ego. We only plan, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine because we are all here to manifest. We're all here to make decisions, use our free will to grow. But what we are not here to do is basically to restrict change. You do not push away change. Yes, it's hard. It's not always going to be easy because we would have set expectations on our lives. But what we can do is to study, observe the change that's coming up, and look at it closer from a third person's perspective. When you look at anything in life from a third person's perspective, that's when you start to see the change happen. That's when you see the purpose. Because when you're directly allowing your emotions to affect everything, they influence your thoughts, they influence your ego, they influence everything. When you allow that to happen, you do not have clarity to see beyond those lines. You're always focused on the decisions. You're always focused on what do I have to do next. Your emotions come through of disappointment, anger, frustration, sadness. All of this comes in. So when there's a change, whether it be a relationship, suddenly you are you're put in a place, in a position where you have to let go of someone, or you're about to lose someone, or if you are going to be out of a job in a few days. What are these? How do you accept these changes? Well, let me tell you this. Most of the times we refuse to believe in ourselves enough. We think that the change is going to be tragic. We think the change is going to push us into a corner where we would never come out of. We think that we're stuck. We think it's the end of the road when it could just be the bend in the road, not the end. So change happens whether you like it or not. Change will happen inevitably. So if you're not going to be making the decisions as according to how your life navigates, you be the driver or the car runs on its own on autopilot. So you decide what you want to do with the changes in your life. Sometimes the changes can look very disappointing. Sometimes the changes can be where you cannot move forward without learning how to cope. In the case of grief, when you've suddenly lost someone who's very important to you in your life, and you find it so hard to move forward. Well, you move forward learning how to cope, because that's what we're here to learn. Grief is undeniably one of the toughest lessons that we all learn. But how we deal with grief is we learn how to cope. Sometimes I feel that change really shakes us up so bad. Change can really make you feel like there's no way you can move from here. There's no way. But one thing I can tell you is nothing is ever placed before you without your soul knowing that you can deal with it. All of us are equipped with all that we need inside of us to deal with the journey that lies ahead. If you are here today, it means that you bear all the scars of all the experiences that you've gone through in life, and you're here today. But there may have been situations in your life in the past where you never thought you'd get past that little milestone of yours. But here you are today, right? So this is what you need to know, that we will adapt to change. We will grow with change. It's important to understand this, that we are here to grow with change and not to be halted. We're not here to be, these are not walls, but these are not walls that stop you, but you need to climb over those walls. Those are not walls for you to stop. Those are walls that you need to climb over. And you are built to climb over them if you believe enough. So the changes that come with different seasons in life, different phases in life, if it is more of a shift in the consciousness, for example, how do you deal with emotional changes? Emotional changes can be dealt with if you believe that emotions are signs in life that you need to focus deeper on and understand the lessons behind each emotion. If you are sad, don't hide from the sadness. Don't ignore it. Don't bury it. If you are angry, let that anger flow through you, because when you let it flow through you, that's when you are able to study it, observe it, Anger can be constructive or destructive. Any emotion can be constructive or destructive. It's how you use it to grow. It can make or break you. If you think that anger from criticism or any kind of negative energy coming from someone else causes anger in you, it should be an inspiration. It should challenge you to move forward and not backwards. Prove it. Fight against it, because you're built for it. And that's why you're here. There is no one else to blame if you deal with the situations in a way which is not, well, doesn't give you better results. Because no one else makes decisions except you for your life. Stimulations will always happen in this world because that's what this dimension is built for. But at the end of the day, your journey is yours alone, and you have the ultimate free will to decide which way you want to take this journey. Unless you trust in yourself that you can climb over every wall that life throws at you, you will not be able to do it, because no one else can do it. Change will be there in everybody's lives because it's meant to be there. Change will be a part of life for as long as you're here, and even after you leave. Change is something that can be beautiful, and change can be also destructive. If you are not a part of it, if you don't actively participate with every change, make decisions with every change, you will not be able to flow seamlessly through just this journey here. The shifts in emotions, as I said, it's not possible to overcome everything in a single day. It definitely isn't. I still face a lot of challenges every day. I too face a lot of changes, just like everyone else. Recently, a few of my close friends would know about this, but recently I've had a major change in my lifestyle where someone who I relied on very heavily, someone who manages the entire household while I'm at work here, I've been putting in 16 hours of work every day for the last 5 or 6 years, and before that I was still working, but at least I had to do a little more at home as well. But for the past 4 or 5 years, I've had the blessing to be able to concentrate purely on my work alone and raising my children, because I had someone else to manage the entire house. Now, out of the blues, just when everything was getting really busy for me, and as you all know, I was preparing for my book release, and there were a whole lot of other things that I was doing besides my regular schedule, I suddenly realized that this person who manages my whole place had a loss in her family, and therefore she would not be able to turn up for work for an indefinite period of time. And that is something that I did not expect, and that pretty much shook up my world, because it's not like I'm adverse to working, doing chores at home, but it's because it affects my schedule, because I'm a working person. And so I was very shocked, undeniably. I was shocked, and I was afraid of how I would take this forward. And I felt that this was going to add a lot more workload on me. I would be under a lot more pressure. I may not be able to perform as much at work or do justice to any side of my life. So I was worried. But I took it in stride at the end of the day and decided that I had to just get going. I had to just get going, whether I liked it or not. That was my attitude in the beginning, because I didn't have a choice. I have a career, and I have my children, and I have my family, and all of these things that need to be taken care of either way, whether I like it or not. But you know what? In just 15 days, I was able to work around this change, and I surprised myself with how much I was able to cope, and I surprised myself with the amount of work I could put in, the way I could manage my time better, even though I had more things on my plate. And I pretty much got out of it. And by the time she was back, which was about a good over 40 days, I completely got used to the fact that she wasn't around, and I was okay with it. When she came back, I wouldn't say that I was very pleased, because I liked being more active. I felt like I was able to be in control of a lot more other things in my life as well. But I knew that I had to sit back, and it was time for me, and I learned it. And I believe that was a lesson for me, that I could push myself if I needed to, and I could do it again if I had to. You see, you never know what you can really deal with until you're presented with a situation that helps you to face it. So change is something that we all need to embrace, even if it's hard. We just need to embrace it little by little, do little things to move forward. Even if you can't take a big chunk of it and deal with it, take it one day at a time, a little at a time. And you'll be surprised at how much more you can achieve with that kind of an attitude than if you were to just give up or say that you can't do this or you can't deal with that. When opportunities come your way, that too is change. Don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone and do something about your life. Don't think that you are taking a risk. Take it as a change, a positive change. Sometimes people are afraid of that change. You think that you can't move forward because that change is, what will I do? Like a new opportunity. Like if you want to pursue a passion of yours, but you can't because you got a job and you don't have time. Time management. Time management. If you really want something in life, you can go after it. You can achieve it. If you really want something in life, you can go after it. You need to believe in your ability to manage better. If you feel that your guides, you're always feeling drawn to doing something. If you feel like you're not doing enough with your life, this is the time when you're presented with an opportunity. When you need to do something, there is never going to be a right time to bring more things into your life if you're passionate about something. If I was to think 20 years ago that spirituality is something totally different from what I was doing, because I was in the corporate and I was raising my children, if I thought that spirituality is definitely not something I can do, and it's not a conventional way of earning money and running a business, and I was not willing to compensate because I was always a working person, and for me to think that I had to put in extra hours, though I absolutely loved the fact that I could help people, and that was something I did 1 hour or 2 hours whenever I had the time. But today I pushed myself because I felt like I was drawn more and more towards spirituality. I was drawn more towards helping people, and at a certain point of time I didn't even think at that point. And this was something that my spouse even told me many times. He said, like, you've been doing this so long without any expectations, and after a point of time people wanted more of you. And that's what started happening, because I didn't have any expectations when I started out this career. I didn't even think it was a career. I thought it was just me going out there and helping. So those of you who think that you want to help people, you want to get into spirituality more seriously, work with your gifts, help other people, do it. There's never going to be a right time for it. Do it one little thing at a time. Serve one person in this entire world one day at a time, which is what I did. And I did not want anything else from it except to see someone's day made. And that is the same attitude I carry till this day. The only difference is I don't have enough time for everybody, and it ended up being a lack of choice, and people started wanting to spend more time with me, and I had to compensate with my career, my business, my time away from family, all of these things. I had to manage better. See, when change happened for me, it was not easy. I had to work a little at a time. It was very stressful, but I can't tell you how much of joy helping someone gave me every single day for the last 20 years. And I still carry the same attitude, I still carry the same passion, only that today I put in much more hours, and I'm always grateful to each one of you for having brought me up this far, for having supported and loved me this far, to be able to do so much more than I did 20 years ago. And so whatever you want to dream of in life, it is possible. You just have to believe in yourself. You just have to embrace change, because change without pain is not worth it. Change without discomfort is not change at all. It's not even worth it. There has to be something that you give away to gain. So I hope this message gave you some kind of an opening in your heart, in your soul, in your mind to perceive, to accept change in your life. If you're sad today, let the sadness be a part of you, because that sadness is a part of you. Don't ignore it. Don't run away from it. Embrace it. If you feel like crying, please go ahead and cry. You're not going to be crying for the rest of your life. You're just going to be crying for an hour, half an hour. Maybe you're emotional for now because of some shift. Just go with the flow. And don't be afraid of your emotions, because change through emotions, through shifts, whatever it is, it's the most beautiful thing if you know how to deal with it. If you would stop looking at it as obstacles, risks, and start thinking of it as lessons, challenges, blessings, the entire concept of change itself will be different. I hope this has brought in something for you to reflect on, something that will help you along the way. Even if I've made a little difference in somebody's life tonight, I'm very honored. Thank you. Namaste.